What's going on, my dudes? This is Mr. Gardner, and this is Math Time with Mr. G. Today we're going to be talking about how to solve linear equations. That just means how do we get x all by itself. So we're all familiar with PEMDAS, but for those of us who aren't, it's how we solve problems when there's no variables. So we're going to say no variables. That means there's no letters in it. And this is the order that we would go in to solve them. So that would be parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. So when there's no variable, we go in this order. But when there is a variable, we're going to go SADMEP. I know it's a little bit silly, but all it is PEMDAS backwards. So when there is a variable, we go SADMEP. However, we don't really go in a SADMEP order. We go in a subtracting, adding, dividing, multiplying, then exponents, then parentheses. So this is our first step, second, third, and fourth. I'm going to write my SADMEP over on the side. So I'm looking, is there any subtraction or adding that is not next to a variable? This one's right next to a variable and inside parentheses, so I'm not going to deal with this one. But there's a subtracting by 8 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line straight down just to keep myself organized. It doesn't actually help me solve anything. But I'm going to say this is minus 8, the opposite's plus 8. Why do to one side? Have to do to the other. That's going to make these cancel, and that's going to become 40. And then everything I didn't touch gets rewritten. Then I say, do I have any more subtracting and adding? Well, that's still in the parentheses, so no. Do I have any dividing and multiplying? I have multiplying here and dividing here. So the opposite to divide is to multiply, and then to multiply. Those cancel, and I'm left with 120. So now I go back to my SADMEP. Do I have any subtracting and adding? Yes, but it's still in the parentheses. Do I have any multiplying and dividing? Yep, multiply by 2. So I'm going to divide to make it go away. When I am to the final step and there's only the parentheses left, I can drop those parentheses because I no longer need it as a holding value. So now I go back to SADMEP. Do I have any subtracting and adding? I sure do. So x equals 56. Having subtracting and adding? Yes, but because the fractions don't match, I can't add those together. So I go to my next step. Do I have any dividing and multiplying? Yeah, I'm divided by this fraction. And so what I can do is I can multiply everything by the same number. That's like saying I'm the same person I just grew up. As long as it's the same ratio of growing, then it doesn't matter. So I can choose to multiply by 5 or by 10. If I go by 10, then everything else gets removed. And I'll show you what I mean. So I multiply everything by 10. So now this is going to be 12,900. This is going to be 10 times h over 10. And that's just going to be 10h over 5. Why this was useful is 10 divided by 10 is 1, and that goes away. I'm left with just h. 10 over 5 becomes 2, and then that fraction goes away. Then I can add these. If there's no number in front of a variable, we just put 1, and I get 3h, and then I go back to my SADMEP at this point. Any subtracting, adding? No. Multiplying, dividing? Yes. 3 times h. So I'm going to divide by 3 to both sides, and I'm going to get 4,300 is equal to h. A mason will lay rows of bricks on a wall. The mason will spread this 3/8 of mortar. That's just the cement in between to make the wall, and then the brick is 2 1/4 tall. So we want to know if this wall is going to be 1 1/8 inch shorter than 4 feet, how many rows of bricks will we need? Well, the first thing we're going to say is how many bricks do we need? Well, I don't know. But if I multiply that by 2 1/4, that will get us the height of 1 brick. If I do 2 bricks, it's 2 times this, and so on and so forth. Then I have to add the mortar to it, this 3/8. And then the only thing is, I don't need mortar on the bottom or on the top, so I'm going to subtract a total of 6/8 from whatever. So multiply how many rows I have, include the mortar, subtract the bottom and the top, and then the final thing is 4 feet. Everything else has been inches, 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 inches. So I'm going to multiply 4 by 12 to get that also in inches. And then it says it wants to be 1 1/8 shorter than that. Okay, so all these different fractions, we can make them all equal 1/8, or we can make them all decimals. I prefer decimals. So now that I have it all in decimal form, I can combine some like terms. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my SAD map and get rid of this subtracting by 0.75 and add it to both sides. The last step is I'm going to divide to get x all by itself. This gets me 18.1 rows. We don't do bricks in 0.1, so we would say about, that's what that squiggly line, 18 rows. Well, if you guys have any questions, just hit me up in the comments section. But other than that, be kind to each other, ask lots of questions, and think deeply.